Josh Johnson here. Strong storms in the mix across parts of Alabama tonight that could include large hail, damaging wind gusts, and scattered power outages, particularly over North Alabama and Northeast Alabama. A lot to get into. We've got that, another storm set up perhaps on Wednesday, and then we're also looking out in the long range at a couple of shots of colder air around the middle of the month. So we'll dive straight into it here. Let's go right to the latest run of the high-res rapid refresh model. And you see what I see here. Big chunk of Alabama dry early in the day. But watch what happens as we cruise along in time here. We'll take you out. This is noon local time, central time in Alabama. Big, mean cluster of thunderstorms, Little Rock to Memphis, isolated storms in the Arkansas Delta back into central Louisiana. Forward we go, onward and upward, right? Here's 3 in the afternoon. Big, ugly cluster of storms now dropping south of Memphis, places like Tupelo, Oxford, Corinth, Iuka, back over towards Lawrenceburg, Tennessee, Waynesboro, Tennessee. Then this keeps plowing southeast pretty quick. And here you have the state of affairs. This would be at, what would that be? 7 o'clock, 6 o'clock local time. It's up in North Alabama. And this is where I think this will be at its most dangerous for our state, and where it will be at its most dangerous in our state would be up here. Again, this is all valid at 7 o'clock this evening, and you've got a big, mean corridor of storms running from around Jasper, back down to Birmingham, over towards Pell City, Odenville, Aniana, Gadsden, Glencoe, Jacksonville, Piedmont, Cedar Bluff, Center, on up into Fort Payne. I anticipate power outages to be sporadic in this part of the state, and also some problem areas with large hail. They will be few and far between, right? Large hail in Alabama is always like that. We almost never have a setup where there's just this huge area of large hail. It's always a little more sporadic, and that'll be the case with this. But I do think there's enough in this to warrant the mention of isolated golf ball-sized hail. Look, that's for 1% of you watching this up in North Alabama. And then some gusty wind could create sporadic power outages, both in North Alabama and eventually over into North Georgia as well. Now, for our area in the southern half of the state, we would watch for scattered cells that pop away from that big cluster. Then we would also watch, does that big cluster affect some of our northeastern counties? And my suspicion is it will. So Coosa, Tallapoosa, Chambers, Lee, I think that's a corridor we would need to watch close to midnight tonight, say 10, 11 midnight, for isolated pockets of hail and isolated pockets of damaging wind. This does not look like a big tornado setup for us. This would be kind of a hail and wind threat, kind of a level 1 to 2 out of 5 wind and hail threat there. The other thing we would need to watch would be these isolated cells out ahead of and kind of south of the line. These could be hailers as well. And that would be more in the evening tonight, 5, 6, 7 o'clock. Mississippi, West and Southwest Alabama would be in that mix. So it's definitely not one size fits all. I think the northern and eastern sections of Alabama, if you draw a line from about Tuscaloosa to Alex City to Phoenix City, right through there and points north is where this is the most impactful. South of there, it's a little spottier. There could still be some isolated problem areas, but it is a little bit spottier in terms of things. Here's the Storm Prediction Center's Day 1 outlook. You'll notice they have a level 2 risk that covers a big chunk of the middle of Alabama. Sort of that corridor I just called out. They're a little farther south than me, I think, to account for some of those individual storm cells that pop. Their tornado risk in this is 2%. That's as low as they go, by the way. So not zero, but pretty close to it in terms of a tornado risk in this setup. The damaging wind threat a little greater, again, primarily central and North Alabama back into North Mississippi. The hail threat is really the driver of this whole concern level here, though. And notice they've got this SIG 1, that's a conditional intensity kind of indicator, meaning if you were to have a storm develop in that area, what could it do? How significant could it be? And this would indicate some golf ball-ish sized hail could be possible in this broad area that runs across much of Alabama, Mississippi, Arkansas, Louisiana, Northeast Texas, Southeast Oklahoma. See it there? Places like Birmingham, Montgomery, Jackson, Tupelo, Little Rock, Shreveport, Alexandria, Louisiana, back up into western Arkansas. So the main concern here would be pockets of hail, but even that, quite frankly, is not a massive, overwhelming concern. How big is the hail? They're suggesting around 2 inches, which is hen egg-sized hail. No, I did not come up with this scale. This is the National Weather Service. How many of us know what a hen egg... I mean, I don't know. Do you know a lot about hen eggs? Do you buy them in the grocery store? What size? You know, there's everything from jumbo to small to the grocery store. So I'm just going to stick with a little bit larger than a golf ball. I think most of us have some concept of how big a golf ball is. So bigger than a golf ball, smaller than a tennis ball would be the maximum you could get out of this. And understand, less than 1% of Alabama would have that. 99-point-something% of us would not have hail that big. The problem is if you end up being that less than 1% and your windshield gets busted in and your car's messed up and you're mad at me about it, right? So let's not do that. If you have a carport or garage, park your car underneath it tonight. If you don't stress about it. It's not that big of a deal. Okay, so then what happens? We deal with another storm setup around here. Would you believe that? Into the middle of the week. So for that, I'll go back to this page. The Storm Prediction Center has drawn a very large level 2 risk that goes all the way from Pittsburgh to Lufkin, Texas. How about that? That is for Wednesday, and then Wednesday night into Thursday, some of that could bleed down into central and south Alabama. But I will tell you candidly, I think there are more things to be happy about than things to be anxious about with this Wednesday night, Thursday morning storm setup. Surface low is pretty far south. Not a lot of warm air in place. Comes through in the middle of the night when temperatures are at their lowest. Not a ton of wind shear, directionally speaking. Not a lot of directional wind shear in that setup for Wednesday night into Thursday morning. So look, I'm not saying it's totally impossible. I'm not saying it's not going to happen. I'm saying that the risk level, as far as this being a big, high-end severe weather event, pretty low, right? I think this is more of a 1 or 2 isolated problem areas deal. Again, that's Wednesday night into Thursday. Then we turn colder out in the longer range here. A couple of different cold shots in that mix. Let me show you this. This is the European ensemble run from last night. We don't have the one from today yet, but it turns a little colder this Thursday night into Friday, March 12th into 13th. Highs in the 60s, lows in the 40s. The blizzard of 93 anniversary, by the way, March 12th and 13th. Then it warms back up into the weekend, and then another shot, probably a little stronger, of cold air out towards March 16th, 17th, and 18th. So you get back into a little cold air setup here. And look, the operational run gets us into the upper 30s on the morning of Tuesday, March 17th. Now, the ensemble approach is not quite that cold, and I think that's the right idea for now, but just understand I can't rule out patchy frost, especially north of Montgomery, next week. Again, around Tuesday the 17th, Wednesday the 18th of March. We got plenty of time to kind of watch this all play out, but I do think we will see another shot of cold air in that time frame. So winter isn't quite over just yet. We can't quite put the nail in that coffin yet. This is the operational Euro. That's from a couple of days ago, so we'll kill that one. That's the more current one. See what I mean? So this is the operational Euro from this morning, and it gets us explicitly down into the upper 30s, the 17th and 18th, with highs only in the 50s. Now, again, our official forecast is not going to be that cold yet. We use an ensemble approach, which is the choir. I like to use that analogy, right? We like to hear a lot of voices. This is just one voice. So, bottom line, really warm through Wednesday. Little shot of colder air Thursday, Friday. It warms back up for the weekend. And then we will likely see a more intense shot of colder air out towards the 16th, 17th, and 18th of the month. So there you have it. All right, I'm going to wind this thing down. I hope you have enjoyed it, as always. Be sure to watch my weather updates this evening on WSFA 12 News at 4, 5, 6, 9, and 10. I'll also do a live stream at 5:30 on the WSFA First Alert Weather app. I hope you'll join me for that. Those are always a good time. We'll have updates on WSFA.com as well throughout the remainder of this day. So have a great rest of your Monday, March 9th. Oh, it's my dad's birthday. All right, so I'm going to go call him. You have a great rest of your day. Take care. We'll see you.